Hello everyone, my name is Jean and today I will show you my Wetlands dome. This whole zoo is part of a challenge from the YouTuber Rudi Rennkamel. If you don't know him yet, check him out, he's doing some amazing work and yeah, I think you know him. If you somehow got on my challenge, you already know him, so yeah. So he created this dome including 2 habitats inside, and he made it a challenge for us viewers to fill everything else up, and yeah, that's what I did. And I am very proud of what I accomplished in this dome, and I thought it would be nice to tell you how I made this zoo and give you some insights on how I built this, and also some kind of insights that I didn't put in the actual zoo but that I had in my mind, but I scrapped it in the last minute, so it isn't in the zoo, but it's kind of something that I had in mind for it. So I would say without further ado, let's get straight into it. And yeah, first things first, we have a side entrance where the guest cannot go. So in game, this is a guest barrier, no one's going to be able to go over there. In real life, however, you could potentially put these poles aside and let people in. So we will go just a few meters now, and then I will be able to show you what I made with this side entrance, because as you can see now, you need to go upstairs, and in case you can't use the stairs, I put a sign there: if you can't use the stairs, ask the staff about a side entrance. So that's why I originally made this side entrance. So we are already in the dome, and this is the entrance area, obviously, and I thought this dome, or this zoo, will be a zoo that you can only enter from this point. So here you can buy your tickets, and then you can go into the zoo, or go with a staff member into the side entrance. So, but either way, this is the only way you can get into the zoo. This is where you have to get your tickets. So here starts the journey, and as this is the starting point for the journey, it would be just fitting to have a little bit of an educational sign what you're going to witness in this dome. And so I just made a little bit information sign, which basically just tells you will see all kind of different wetlands. You go from mangrove forest in Asia to the Amazonia. You will encounter the animals that live near the water in these biomes, and you learn on the way more about the animals and the environment they live in. So I would say let's get into it. And the first thing I did was making 2 habitats, and this is actually something that Rudi himself would have done if he would have been able to make this dome himself. And he wanted to have on both sides different crocodiles, and so that's what I did. On this side, obviously, as you can tell, it's part of the mangrove forest, and here live saltwater crocodiles. But there are only 2, and that's the reason why you will probably be not able to see them, especially in my zoo, because I need to pause this if we don't want to have lag. So yeah, there are only 2 animals in here because for some reason the females don't want to give birth. I don't know why, but I have 2 females in the zoo. One is in the trade center, one is in the actual enclosure. Both have the signage of offspring imminent, they just won't give birth. I don't know why. It's a little bit annoying because I love the idea of having little saltwater crocodiles just swimming around. But unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. But the same can't be said about these guys. These are the Cuviers Drugs Cayman. Here you can see one. And as you will be seeing when we go under there are so many. They have so many little ones. It's kind of insane. So yeah, but let's go down here, and here is the first habitat that Rudi built. I also did some signage, and this is also the first time where you will be seeing something that I had in mind for this zoo, because in my mind this zoo was built in the early 90s, so it was, oh no, even more of a late 80s build. So something like that. That was when the dome was built, and then they had an original layout of habitats, and then they, as in most zoos, they modernized and renovated a lot of things, and so this was also the case in this zoo, and I incorporated that. You will see more of that later. So the first thing you will see is this was originally a koala habitat, and it was repurposed in 2020 for a platypus. So I just thought it was a nice little thing. And there are actually 3 platypus in there, so I can't promise you to see all of them, but they're in there. So, and that's why I also have these large eucalyptus trees, and I also changed a lot of the foliage, because as the whole idea of my zoo was to show the viewer different biomes, it needed to be plant specific to these biomes. So he put a lot of bamboo in here, and that's just not really Australian, so that's why I had to delete them. And yeah, now there are only plants and animals from Australia in there, so yeah. And here is also the first thing that I did that you will always see in this whole zoo. I always put a lot of did you know signs. There are 2 kind of did you know signs. One with the actual animals that are in the habitat that you will be seeing. So here it says platypus are an endemic species. This means they are only found in one region in the world, so in this case Australia. So, but there are also did you know signs with facts about the Amazonia or mangrove forest or stuff like that. So yeah. Then I also put some signs up here. These signs you will also see quite often, because this will always tell you where you are. I opted for this one instead of having a real route that you will follow, because when I was ready I thought of planning some routes, but I couldn't find a good one that will have just one route. I would need more routes than one, so maybe like 2 or 3, and I thought it would be easier if I just put signs everywhere, so you know when you go somewhere, yeah, okay, so here is that, and that's this, and so on, so on. So, and that's also the reason for these kind of poles, signs. So you can see here, Amazonia, African Delta, so you have to go there, over there for African Delta, Penguin Bay, Beaver Dam, and Canaveral Mountain. And if you go here, you can always see it, you go to the mangrove forest. So first, let's start with Amazonia, because that's also the first thing I built. So first, let's go down under. As you probably already imagined, this is the Cuvier's dwarf caiman habitat. And as I promised, a lot of them. Honestly, so much. So many, it's ridiculous. So, and also here, it's nice little Easter egg. Since 2002, we had over 25 successful upbringings of Cuvier's dwarf caimans, leading into the fact that this whole habitat is full of Cuvier's dwarf caimans. So, and I thought it would be nice to have, because if you imagine, this zoo was built in the late 80s, so somewhere around the early 2000s they did this habitat, and then they started breeding, and so I mean 2002 until now, it's a lot of years, and I mean after all they're crocodilians, so they would have a lot of children every time they would meet. So I just thought it would make sense. And then let's go. Wait. So another sign. This is about the Cuvier's dwarf caiman not being hunted for skin, because the skin is too heavily armored to tend. So these are also facts that I didn't know. And then we have these Outback called Imbis, which should also lead into the platypus lake, just so it has a little bit more from Australia than just the platypus habitat. Originally I wanted to have the koalas fit somewhere in the zoo as well, but I couldn't quite figure out where, because if I didn't make this thing, this whole little house, there would be no way that you can get food or drink on this side of the dome, so inside the dome, and that's something I didn't want to do, so I decided not to have koalas. So they had the koalas, they gave them somewhere else and repurposed the habitat, but they didn't get the koalas back, so that's my story for this. So here you can see the Cuvier's dwarf caiman on land, or actually you can't because no one's on here, or at least I don't see anyone. Yeah, so here another fact about the Cuvier's dwarf caiman, and so as you noticed, a lot of these signs have little markings on them, so just to make sure you know it's really old. But actually the interesting fact is that there are 2 signs that are new. And we already been there, but we will get there again. This were with the platypus habitat, because, I mean, the platypus habitat was repurposed 2020, so they made the new signs in 2020, which is 2 years from now. So in 2 years, the signs wouldn't be so old looking as the ones that were longer there in place. So yeah. And then we go into the walk-in habitat for the capuchin monkeys. So, you know, always, again, another did you know fact. And, of course, a lot of capuchin monkeys. And the fun thing about this habitat is it's surrounded by another habitat. No, not habitat, habitats. So here you have the jaguar habitat, as you can see here, the did you know signs saying something about jaguars. So, and then when you go here, you have a multi-species habitat with capybaras, anteaters, tapirs, and 1 tortoise. I don't know if we will see her, but she's there, trust me. And yeah, here are also signs, this time about the capybaras. So yeah, and when you go on the other side, this here is the back side of the Cuvier's dwarf caiman, that's a long word, of the caiman habitat. So this was actually quite a hassle to build, because the first thing was, every time I connected all the habitat walls and put the gate in, it says it's incomplete every time. And I had a lot of time that was just purely for trying to get this thing to work, because in the end I made like 2 habitat walls inside of here, just so it wouldn't clash with the outside habitat of the multi-species habitat. So yeah, this was the first problem. The second problem were these roofs, because everything about these roofs is climbable. So the capuchin monkeys climbed on top of here, which in of itself is no problem. The problem began when they started climbing out of here, and then they were just sitting down here, and obviously they were escaped. So that meant I needed to cut this roof in half, because when we can go outside now, so I will show you this in a moment. So here is the rest of the roof, but I had to cut this roof in half, and then I needed to separate them so much that the capuchin monkeys were not able to jump from one bamboo stick to the other one, and that was also quite the hassle, but in the end I did it, and it's already looking quite nice, if I can say so myself, and it provides shelter for all the animals that live in here. So on this side we have like the chill area, so to speak, with a little bit of a river going through, and when we see on the other side we have 2 waterfalls, which are the beginning of the whole river. So the river starts here and goes all the way to the caimans. So I just realized maybe I should have gone the other way around, but I mean, now it's too late, so we will go on this road. So yeah, here they are. They can also go under there, and they frankly don't do it, but they can go up here, and you, in theory, will be able to see the capybaras or other animals, when they are on these elevated rocks when you go into the zoo. So just as a little sneak peek, which for some reason don't really work because the animals don't show up there quite often, but that was the idea. So now another did you know fact, and then you can watch them again when they are eating or whatever else they are doing here, but mostly they're eating because I put the food enrichment here. So, and here is also some guest barriers. Originally I wanted to have the guest barrier go all the way through, but because here is the habitat entrance for the keepers and I already blocked this way, I needed to allow them to move here, around here, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to go to the habitat at all. So, but in a real life zoo it would all be put off, so you couldn't walk in there at all. So yeah, and now you will see I also made a big living wall here. I just thought it looked super cool. And also some benches that are overgrown with stuff, and also the signs are also a little bit overgrown. Yeah. And then when we go further, another sign with the Amazon River. It's about the Amazon fact. So as I stated, 2 various kinds of facts that I put in here. And then we will go up here and we will see the outside of the jaguar habitat. So, and also you can sit here and you can get this wonderful view on this Aztec temple. I don't know if I pronounced that one right, but I'm just going to keep on going. So, also the next sign, which is a little bit more to read, so I will just let you read it and for a few seconds okay, no, I won't let you read it, I will tell you what's up. So, but if you wanted to read, you could have just paused. So, so this Aztec temple was, in my mind, was gifted from a museum. So the reason is this is a replica of an Aztec temple, and it was in a museum, but it got broken and it was beyond repair. So they thought, okay, well, let's give it just to this zoo. Maybe they can do something. I know they wanted to have jaguars, so did it. So the problem with this is this whole area is meant to represent the Amazonia, so the area around the Amazon River. But the Aztecs never went there, so it didn't fit quite the vibe that the zoo wanted to achieve in terms of realism, but it just looked so cool and was such a good opportunity to finally get on going with the Amazonia that they wanted to have, because previously the only thing they did for the theme Amazonia was the caiman habitat, and then they decided, okay, this Aztec temple replica is the perfect way to get on going and keep on making more for the Amazonia, and also stop housing the elephants, because the elephants were housed in the indoor habitats of the jaguars and the giant otters. You will see them in a few seconds. So, but only the indoor habitats were for the elephants. So it was unbearable. They couldn't do this any much longer, and so they decided to give the elephants up and only house smaller animals than the elephant. I mean, they have hippos, but that's another story. So yeah, another jaguar fact. And then we can go over this bridge here, and this is the giant otter habitat, as you can see here. So just going here, we have a few viewing areas. I also made sure that we have in every habitat at least 3 viewing areas, so that you will be able to see the animals from all different kind of angles. So yeah, this is the first one. Here's another did you know sign. Then we can go up here, another viewing gallery. I'm just going to speed a little bit through this because I just didn't want it to be so long, and I have the feeling it's going to be super long, so I'm rushing a bit. So Also here the underwater area where you can see the otters, or well, you can't see the otters, but yeah. And also some did you know stuff about the animals, the giant otters, and the Amazon. Yes. So, and then let's first ignore this post and where it leads, because I just wanted to show you how big the indoor areas are, so you can just imagine in your head how big the elephant area was. So here, this is the underwater viewing for the hippos that Rudi began, and I just finished it. So we go up here. Also we have some signs about Amazon River, and this is the indoor habitat of the giant otters. So yeah, it's nothing special, it's just plain area, but yeah. Then you go here, and here you can see the Outback Columbus from another angle, because we're just moved in a circle a bit. And here is the indoor habitat for the jaguar. So when you now imagine this whole part was the elephant's enclosure. That's way too small, so it was quite a good decision for the zoo to give them to some other zoo or just rehouse them somewhere else. So yeah, here again, little hippo area. And if we go now back outside, and this is the end of part 1 of my zoo tour. In the next part we will see the rest of the zoo, but I figured it would be too long to have you sit through a 50-minute video, so I hope you agree with my decision here. And yeah, in the second part of this zoo tour we will see the beaver dam, the carnival mountain, the African Delta, and the mangrove forest. So I hope you will stay tuned and we see each other the next part. Bye!